The X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X-Zone Radio Show or endorsed in any manner by Rob McConnell, Relmar McConnell Media Company, the X-Zone Broadcast Network, its affiliated networks, stations, employees, or advertisers.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Welcome back to the X-Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell, coming to you live and around the world on the Talkstar Radio Network and our fine family of broadcast affiliates across Canada, the United States, Central America, South America, the Caribbean, the Pacific Rim, 20 Asian countries, and across Europe. If you'd like to give us a call, our toll-free number is 1-877-528-8255. My email address is xzone@talkstarradio.com and on MSN Messenger, talkstarradio@hotmail.com. And our new website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. My guest this hour is Stephen Lachance. He is a radio host and producer who does a morning drive time show in Washington, Missouri. His story was featured on the Discovery Channel's A Haunting and in the Booth Brothers documentary, The Possessed, to be released in October of 2008. His book, The Uninvited, The True Story of the Union Screaming House, will be released on September the 1st, 2008 by Llewellyn Worldwide, and is available for pre-order Exonation at Amazon.com. He also appears in Children of the Grave, another documentary by the Booth Brothers. Stephen's experiences at the Union House inspired him to form the Missouri Paranormal Research, which he left in 2007 in order to help people privately in extreme haunting situation. He has successfully investigated and concluded many cases. Stephen speaks at paranormal conferences and will be traveling across the United States with Haunted Survivor, the tour starting in January 2009. And Stephen Lachance, welcome back to the X-Zone. Nice having you with us tonight, Steve, and congratulations on your new book.
Thank you, Rob. Good to be back. It's good to talk to you, my friend.
Good talking to you, too. What's been new you've been really busy since you and I last talked.
I have
Holy
been
cow.
incredibly busy. I wrote a book since I talked to you last, my friend.
Yeah, you sure did.
And the book has been the biggest part of everything. You know, I put a lot of time and effort getting that done. I really wanted to go ahead and write it. It took a lot of time. You know, when the last time I talked to you, I wasn't sure if I was going to do it or not. I finally decided to go ahead and do it. And so I was kind of in hiding for a while.
Why?
Well, because I went in hiding to write the book, and I was filming, and I was doing these private cases, and that's what I was doing. So, you know, it took a lot of my time. So
that's
I
where
was
you
kind of out of the
disappeared to.
public eye for a little bit.
So that's where you disappeared to, huh?
Yeah, that's where I disappeared to. So, and now that the book is ready to come out in September, I'm coming out a little bit more. So
you must be really excited.
I am thrilled. I'm very proud of the work I did with this book. You know, it's not every day. You know, we've had a lot of books that were written by investigators, by people that have survived hauntings, but not many of the people that have survived hauntings actually turned into someone like me that goes out and helps people that now live through it. So, you know, this book is unique in a lot of ways because I made a lot of mistakes when I was going through it. This was a 4-year period that I lived in. And for the listeners that don't understand, The Uninvited is my personal story. It's how I got involved helping people. In 2001, if I could tell a little bit.
All right, why don't we do this, Steve? Let's take a 2-minute commercial break because when we come back from the break, I promise I won't interrupt you until we have to go to the news. You know how it is being in this industry. There's certain breaks you can skip, and there's others that are hardcore, and I don't want to smash into one tonight. Stephen Lachance is our special guest. He is the author of The Uninvited, The True Story of the Union Screaming House. And Stephen Lachance and I will be back on the other side of this commercial break in 2 minutes. My producer tonight is the one and only Batman. For more information on Stephen, visit www.stephenalachance.com, and to get a pre-order of his book, go to amazon.com. The X-Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell, continues in 2 minutes, right here from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, on Talkstar.
Take a step back in time and discover old Florida cuisine at Marsh Landing Restaurant in Fellsmere. Enjoy delicacies such as frog legs, gator tail, catfish, and swamp cabbage, or enjoy the more traditional cuisine like hand-cut Angus steaks, ribs, and seafood. Join us for breakfast with a southern flair featuring sweet potato pancakes, biscuits, and gravy, and much more. Planning a party? Marsh Landing's private dining room can accommodate groups from 8 to 80 people. While you're visiting, enjoy the historic pictures, artifacts, and stories that line the walls. Marsh Landing is truly a unique experience. Marsh Landing Restaurant, 44 North Broadway in historic Fellsmere, or visit marshlandingrestaurant.com. Marsh Landing, old Florida cuisine at its best. Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone radio show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone broadcast network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
Are you interested in the paranormal, ghosts, UFOs, or psychic phenomenon? Join me, Tim Bartley, co-host of Talking to Spirits with Lightworkers Tim and Justina, coming mid-January 2017 to the XZBN. We will channel spirits live and talk to them, revealing all kinds of amazing information. Spiritual attachments will be found and removed on the show, and so much more. To find out when you can listen to Talking to Spirits with Lightworkers Tim and Justina, visit www.xzbn.net for listeners on both sides of the veil.
Stephen Lachance is our special guest. His website is www.stephenalachance.com, or, as they might say, Stephen A. Lachance. How do you say it? How do you say it in the U.S.?
Well, in the U.S., it depends where you are. In Missouri, they say Lachance unless you go to southern Missouri, where it's a little bit more French then it's Lachance.
Yeah, it's just like when Jeff's on here. He's Jeff Belanger. Up here in Canada, it's Jeff Belanger.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. All right,
depends where you are.
That's right. I'm sorry if I... How do you say your name?
I appreciate, when I come on this show when you say Lachance, because it's the way my grandfather said it, and it's actually the way it's supposed to be said.
So what you're saying is I remind you of your grandfather.
Well, no, you don't remind me of my grandfather. I just appreciate the way, it's the right pronunciation, Rob, and
I thank you for that.
I appreciate that.
Okay, Stephen. Tell us a little bit about the Union Screaming House, would you?
Well, I moved into it with my three children in 2001.
Mm-hmm.
I was a skeptic at that point. I was not the kind of person that I would think would ever be doing the work that I'm doing. We moved in. Very shortly, we went through a whole series of things. I had children that were claiming that they were being chased, that they were being terrorized. At one point, I had all three kids in bed with me. Claiming that all sorts of things were going on, and I'm thinking, my gosh, what's going on? At one point, and I'm very capsulizing this, for the show.
Sure.
But at one point, I actually saw this thing myself, and the reason they call it the Screaming House is this thing actually screams. And at that point, when I saw it, I got the kids, and we were going to, at that point, my belief system crashed. And I took the kids, and I was going to leave the house, and I was trying to do it calmly. I had just seen a smoky black figure of a man walk into the room, the same room that I was sitting in. And I told the kids, I was going to take them for a drink, is what I told them. And we got up to leave, and as I went to leave, it was an old house, and I went to put the key in the door. And as I went to put the key in the door, the house started screaming. It was a male scream. By that time, they knew something was going on, and we left. I ended up going back. Because we didn't have anywhere else to go. It was our house. We had just moved. Actually, they ended up being locked into a bedroom at one point where I couldn't get to them. And that's the story that The Uninvited is about. This lasted from 2001 through 2005 because I actually went back as an investigator after we moved from the house years later. We left in 2001. I think we lasted a total of 13 days in the house on a total. But it had such an effect on me mentally, emotionally, that it stuck with me, and I actually started doing research, and it's how I became an investigator. I use the word investigator loosely because I think I'm a little bit more than just somebody that investigates these things. I go out and I help families. And that's how I got involved in this, and I actually went back, and I don't suggest doing this. I went back and I actually did research on my own haunting and tried to help a family that was living in the same house that I was living in with dire consequences. And that's what the story's about, and that's what the Screaming House is about.
Can you share with us some of the people that you've helped and what their circumstances were? Sure.
There's a family down in southern Missouri. That's a good case. The poltergeist case, actually, where the young girl was taken from her mother to live with her grandparents. What happened there, immediately the grandparents started experiencing horrible, horrible things where the house actually started, things started falling around, down inside the house. All their belongings started crashing down around them is the best way to describe it. What we found out from there is the agent, with a poltergeist case, usually there's an agent. The young girl was in such mental distress, spiritually, emotionally, that, once we got her some spiritual counseling, they weren't letting her see the mother. We were able so she could start seeing the mother. That a lot of that was settled. That was a big case, I thought, because at one point I remember Rob standing in the middle of the living room with the grandfather, he was about 77 years old. Brand new television. I remember it was an RCA widescreen that literally a basket. It was a wire basket. It had been thrown, and this television was crashed. I had a lamp thrown at my head during that case. But this gentleman standing in the middle of the living room with me, and I remember looking at him, and he's, this is typical of these type cases, and he's looking at me and he's crying, and he's like, "Please help me." Wow. That kind of thing. That's the kind of emotion that these people are going through. They want help, and that's the thing that I can remember going through is I wanted help. I wanted somebody to reach out and help me, and that's the kind of thing we do. Is we go out and we look for these cases, and when we come across them, we help these people and we guide them. Just a recent case, family, a young boy that was being terrorized by something. We actually saw a video first of it. He was not sleeping. The thing would come in the room with him at night, and I've never seen a child react with such terror in my life. And these were not just your typical night terrors, Rob. I mean, this child was seeing something completely horrible, screaming like I've never seen anything before. We actually ended up having to turn this case over to clergy, and actually had the house blessed. And the clergy actually, for one, the child wasn't baptized, christened. We had him christened. And once the blessing and everything went through, that family's now living in peace, So when you can bring peace to a child, that's a wonderful thing, too. Those are the kind of things that I deal with, on a weekly, monthly basis.
Where do these negative spirits or negative entities come from?
I don't put labels on them. You know that. Because the thing is, I've dealt with pagans.
Yeah.
I've dealt with Christians. I've dealt with every walk of life that you can think of that has had these negative type things. I think that it's possible that, if you're negative in life, you're negative in death. I believe that there's the yin and yang, in energy out there. My personal belief, I believe in demons, but I don't push that belief on someone else. I believe this negative energy exists. Whether you want to call it demons, whether you want to call it a negative energy, whatever name you want to put on it, it is out there. It is not always the spirit. And I don't like the name haunting a lot of times either, because I feel a lot of these cases aren't hauntings. This is a different character altogether. They're a different creature altogether. Some of these things are very predatory, and I think they're more like predators than they are, let's say, a spirit or a ghost. They're not a ghost a lot of times, It just depends what you want to put the word on it. I tend to not try to label it. If you would ask me what my personal belief is, personally, I would call them demons. I leave that up to whatever I'm dealing with the person, what they want to believe. But personally, I feel they're demonic. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Yes, it does. Now, do these demonic entities actually have the ability to cause physical harm?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've seen cases where people have been thrown, scratched, touched, raped. You name any amount of things. With the union haunting, the woman that we deal with there, I saw her scratched, choked, bit. Actually, human bite marks that would show up down her arms. It was impossible for her to absolutely do herself. These things can harm you in ways that you cannot believe, and it's quite common.
So, how do you protect yourself against these negative entities, these demons?
These demons, how do you protect yourself? You know what? The funny thing I found, the most common thing that I found out there with these people, and I found it with myself too, Rob, is the people that did not have a solid belief. If you're going to believe in something, believe in it wholeheartedly, okay? Have faith in something. Believe in something. It's the people that are on the fence. These wishy-washy people.
Yeah.
Oh, I might believe in something, I might not believe in something. Those are the people that seem to get in trouble. Those are the people that these type things seem to hone in on. If you're not going to believe in a God or something like that, then believe it with all your heart, man. If you're going to believe in it, believe it. You just can't stay in the middle there. I was in the middle there, and I think that's what got me in trouble. And time again, I see it's when these people are having these spiritual struggles within themselves. It seems that's what makes it almost looks like it paints the bullseye on their back for some reason. So I always tell people, whatever it is that you believe in, whether, if I'm speaking at a conference or something, I'll set out a chair, and I said, if you believe in this chair, believe in it with all your heart. Don't be sitting on the fence, because if you don't believe in this with all your heart, that's when you're going to get in trouble.
All right, Stephen, please stand by. You and I have to take a commercial break with the news at the bottom of the hour. Stephen A. Lachance is our special guest, www.stephenalachance.com. Stephen and I will be back talking more about investigating the paranormal confronting negative entities, demonic things from the dark side. When we come back from this commercial break, if you'd like to give us a call and share a story with us or ask Stephen any questions, 1-877-528-8255. That's toll-free throughout the U.S., Canada, Alaska, and Hawaii. And we will be back on the other side of the news as the X Zone continues right here on the Talkstar Radio Network. Don't go away.
This is the X Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
Welcome back to the X Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell, and this portion of the X Zone is being brought to you in part by Amira, soul mystic, master clairvoyant healer, and spiritual teacher. She's creating life changes, and if you'd like to give her a call, 1-800-659-6796. That's 1-800-659-6796, or you can visit her online at www.soulmystic.com. In fact, she's going to be on with us hour 4 tonight here on the X Zone. Also, by Discovering the Interlife, a new book from the author of Return, Dr. Georgina Cannon. It's a powerful book about your life between lives. And if you'd like further information, or maybe you'd like to buy a copy, it's a great book, go to their website at www.lifebetweenlivescanada.com, or you can call the Ontario Hypnosis Centre at 1-866-497-7469. That's 1-866-497-7469. Stephen Lachance is our guest. His website is www.stephenalachance.com. Now, Stephen, do you feel that there's a rise in these type of extreme hauntings, or do you feel that it's just because of the current emphasis in the media that's playing a role?
Well, I think it's a little bit of both. 5 years ago, I was talking to people like John Zaffis and some of the others. And they were predicting that there was going to be a rise, and I think there has been a little bit of that. We've seen a rise in these cases, but it's kind of hard because you do have the media focus when you look at television. Right now we have you wash and wear exorcism going on television right now. You're seeing things on television that I never thought you would see ever before. Daily. So it's hard to tell. It seems like, a lot of the cases that we're getting over and over, you're having to go through them very, very carefully because a lot of it you can take care of on the phone, 1 or 2 visits, because 9 out of 10 times, Rob, I got to tell you, it's in people's minds. There's a little bit of hysteria going on out there. And I think a lot of that is caused by the media, yeah.
Now, when you go out to investigate an extreme case, how do you proceed?
Cautiously, no.
Yeah, I can just...
it takes a lot. First of all, it's a lot of conversation before I'll even go into a case. I'm talking to the people. I'm trying to figure out what's going on before I get there because I want to be careful that I'm not stirring up anything before I get there as well. The worst thing that I could think of going into a case is not understanding what I'm walking into and then walking into something and turning the house upside down. So I want to understand what I'm going into. So there's a lot of conversation that goes on up front. And then we'll go in, and then we'll try to capture a little bit of evidence. Not a whole lot of evidence. I'll take 2 people with me, 2, 3 at the tops. That's kind of why I left the research groups behind me, because I used to go in, God bless them, I had 26 people that I would take with me.
Oh, my gosh.
Missouri Paranormal actually got to be that big. And I felt so horrible, telling these guys, shut down the cameras, get out. And these were really people that were putting their heart into research. But when you get into one of these cases, the research becomes secondary. Safety becomes number one, and the family becomes number one. So, I needed a small team. These are very private things. They're not something you're going to put out on the internet or talk about.
That raises a question. When you go into, when I'm saying you, I mean other paranormal researchers. When you go into a house with 26 people and all this equipment, what does that do to the family dynamics?
It terrorizes them. It terrorizes them, the thing is the family just looks at you, and they're just, you go from victimization of the haunting to victimization of the team. You know what I'm saying? And it's a horrible situation. And that is the thing, that I had to get away from. It was, I didn't need all of those people. I didn't need that sort of thing, the researchers everywhere. I got away from what I started down this road, which was to help people. So I had to pull back, and I had to reevaluate what I was doing. And, I think we all need to do that occasionally,
Yes.
And when I did that, I thought, well, God bless them. They want to do research. Go ahead. Go do what you're doing. I'm pulling back, and this is what I'm doing. And and it works much better this way. I go in with a very small group. And egos get in the way. The larger the group, the more ego that you have to deal with. And what I mean by that is, at any given time, I have to be willing to step out of a case. And, because at any given time, I have to be willing to turn a case over to clergy. Mm-hmm. Because, I have to be willing to say, I'm in over my head.
Exactly.
Because that's very important, because this kind of thing is a team effort. But I found that within, you start working in a larger group, those egos start to play, and you find that people don't want to let go. They don't want to step back and say, everybody wants to think I'm the conqueror. Well, you can't be the conqueror sometimes. You have to be able to step back and say, okay, I have to turn this over now.
Because the objective is to help the family.
Absolutely. And you have to be able to drop that ego and do that. And that's why you have to work with a very limited amount of people, a limited group, a limited amount of equipment, and a limited amount of, you have to be able to trust the person next to you. I found the team name thing, that didn't work. And there was always that temptation of people wanting to put things on the Internet. You see, teams do that a lot, mm-hmm. Evidence. Everything, everybody is evidence-driven. In these type cases, I don't care if I go in and get an EVP or a picture. That EVP or picture is the only important thing that would be for me is if I go, let's say I go to Bishop Long or Bishop or whoever, and I'm showing them a piece of evidence because I'm going to them and I'm saying, okay, I need you to come into a case and I'm turning this over to you. That's the only reason a piece of evidence would be important to me. Really. What am I out to prove? Am I out to prove to myself these things exist, Rob? I already know they do.
Yeah.
I don't need that anymore. I'm not going to go out to the world to prove it. I think it's really sad when I see these teams. You've seen the mission statements out there, haven't you?
I sure have.
I love those. The ones that say, "I'm out to prove to the world that the paranormal exists." And I'm like, boy, oh boy, oh boy. You are going to be out there for years to come, and even if you do come across something that you could put out there and say, "Look what I got," you know, the biggest skeptic is going to come along and knock it down. Because the thing is you're never going to be able to prove that magic bullet.
That's right.
It's just not. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. What I was going to say is that, and teams don't work with each other. Mm-hmm. There's no exchange of information from one ghost hunting research society to the next. Everybody likes to keep the information to themselves. And it's the same thing in ufology. It's the same thing with Sasquatch. It's the same thing with, crop circles, whatever. Everybody wants to do it themselves. And if they work together as a team, they would get so much ahead that it's ridiculous. Why don't they work together?
You know, I haven't figured it out. Everybody's got their own idea. But I found that there's this subculture of those that are out there doing this work that is there to help. And that is what the goal is, and that is what they're doing, and that is what they're accomplishing, and nothing else matters. And I got to tell you, it is the most rewarding, wonderful work that I've seen and that I've enjoyed, and and that is what I've been doing and what I've been focusing on. And I work very closely with all these other people. And I'm telling you, Rob, there's a lot of negative going on out there, but I think the positive is starting to rise to the top. And this is the subculture that's coming up. And the subculture that's coming up is the culture that is there to help others.
1-877-528-8255. Let's go to our phones. We have Kathleen joining us now. Hi, Kathleen.
Hi, this is Kathleen. I have a question of the guest.
Sure, go right ahead, dear.
Well, I had a friend who lived in outside of Orangeville, and his house was haunted. The whole front of the house he couldn't use because it was freezing cold. And he had someone come in, 2 people in a group come in and clean it and got rid of it, but they taped it. And I heard the tape, and I could hear both sides of the people talking, the ghost that was haunting it and the people who were cleaning the house. Is that a real tape?
Absolutely. You can surely get EVP just like that. And by the way, Rob, you know who this is talking to us?
No, I don't.
This is Kathleen O'Bannon, the Carrot Lady.
Oh, hi, Kathleen. How are you?
Yes, I know more than just carrots.
I don't know. When it comes to carrots, you're number one. You're the top of the carrot bunch in my book.
There you go.
Yeah, she's number one in my book too. I recognize the voice right away. Yeah, Kathleen. That's quite common. As a matter of fact, there's a couple. One of the things that I'll do with interview is I'll always set down a tape recorder next to me as I'm interviewing somebody, because there is a lot of times that you'll capture voices, especially in extreme cases and in a lot of demonic cases, that we'll capture voices around, and that's how we'll make determinations. Actually, one of the cases that I participated in an exorcism, an out-and-out exorcism, how they made the determination is we had a tape running during the interview process, and it actually was the evidence that we needed that actually got the exorcism performed.
Wow, cool.
All right, Kathleen, thanks very much for joining us tonight. Great talking to you. You take care of yourself.
I'm glad to have the answer. I always worried whether this was a made-up deal or not, and now I can see you really did have a group come in and clean. There were only 2 people. Thanks so much.
You take care, sweetie.
Yeah, bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh, that was a nice surprise. What kind of when the exorcism gets authorized, was it authorized by the church?
Well, in this case, it was actually outside of the church. In this case, we were dealing with someone that if I would have brought a church collar into a Catholic collar into this family,
yes,
we wouldn't have been able to. I had to go out evangelical to bring in. That happens. But sometimes, the majority of the time you have to go through the church and you have to get authorization.
What kind of things were happening during this exorcism?
In this case, Rob, this was scary because you had a 4-year-old girl who was being told to kill her 4-month-old brother.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. And the mother was actually the one that was the possession was absolutely going through. And the exorcist, as we went through the exorcism, the mother got up and she ran. The exorcist told me to grab her. And she got physically ill. And I got to tell you, I never thought of these things being physically manifested, but I could actually feel things moving in her body. I could feel her vertebrae start to readjust. I could feel something moving in her. Actually, her bones were moving inside her. It was very, very physical. She passed out in my arms. I laid her down. And then the exorcist looked at me and he said, because I must have been white at that point. And he looked at me and goes, "You felt it, didn't you?" And I said, "Yeah." And I said, "I had no idea it was so physical." But these are very physical things, They affect people in a very physical way.
Steve, stand by. We've got to take our final break for this hour. Stephen A. Lachance is our special guest. His website, www.stephenalachance.com. He's the author of The Uninvited, the true story of the Union Screaming House. And it's going to be released to the public on September 1st, but you can pre-order at Amazon.com. We'll be back on the other side of this break as we continue right here in the X-Zone.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
19 Sergeant Central. 19 Sergeant check. Officers on the scene.
Hi, I'm Larry Lawson, host of Paranormal Stakeout. With over 36 years in law enforcement, I have learned a few things. The most important is the proper gathering and preservation of evidence is vital to putting the bad guy behind bars. It's no different in the world of paranormal investigation. Whether it's the search for the afterlife, cryptozoology, UFOs, and extraterrestrials, how we gather the evidence, preserve that evidence, and present it to a jury of our peers will make the ultimate difference in proving the existence of worlds and entities that are beyond our imagination. Join me, Larry Lawson, every week on Paranormal Stakeout when, along with my guests, we'll take a journey to prove with indisputable evidence what man has struggled to believe for centuries. Go to xzbn.net for the broadcast schedule and check me out at paranormalstakeout.com.
True healing must address 4 levels: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual, for us to live joyful and productive lives. We tend to treat 3 of the 4, leaving the spiritual languishing. If you're tired of the same dysfunctional patterns cropping up in your life, Soul Balancing is for you. Trixie Phelps, owner and founder of Soul Balancing, is a naturally gifted energy healer trained in numerous esoteric forms, including shamanism. Trixie has created a powerful modality that safely and effectively clears your energetic field. A soul balancing session can remove interference, heal trauma, and restore your hope. Contact Trixie for a life-changing long-distance session today, www.soulbalancing.world.
Stephen, after an exorcism is performed or after any major cleansing of a home for of a demonic possession or spirit, how do the people in the house readjust? Is there any psychological help for them?
Absolutely. You have to have psychological help. It's got to go hand in hand. Post-traumatic stress. It goes hand in hand with it. You got to remember, one of the things that the demonic wants to accomplish is it wants to destroy the psyche. So there is emotional damage that's done. Anytime that you hear of exorcism or an extreme case where there was a blessing or any type of this type of intervention, they better have talked about emotional counseling along with it, Robert. They haven't done it properly. Because it has to be done both. Both things have to be done, or you're not going to accomplish anything. They're just going to slide back into whatever it is that it was, whether it be an emotional funk, where they live years and years and years with the post-traumatic stress, or they're going to go right back into the spiritual problems that caused the problem in the first place. It's a twofold thing. You always take care of the medical and the spiritual together. It's essential. That's what they did with me. That's what we did with the Union case. That's what I've done with every single one of my cases. It's essential that it's done that way. And I guarantee you, if it's done that way, you're going to have a higher success rate than if you don't.
But all right, we're talking about you and the way that you do things, and you do it in a professional manner. However, with all these new up-and-coming groups out there that call themselves researchers or investigators, what about the people, what about the public who may not have any idea what they're getting themselves into, and they bring in a group of unexperienced researchers who start dabbling in things that they have no concept of what they're getting into? They cause more problems than enough, and then they just walk out and say, hey, listen, we're sorry for the mess we caused, but goodbye.
Unfortunately, it happens all the time and time again, and it happened to us as well. And that's exactly why I started doing the work. Unfortunately, Rob, I clean up a lot of messes. The thing is, one of the things that I want to accomplish, one of the things that I wanted to accomplish with this book was, to demonstrate how not to make messes. And I hope enough of the so-called investigators will pick it up and read it. Hopefully. The only thing that we can hope for is that we get out there and we talk enough and we try to educate and we try to reach people. That's what Haunted Survivor the Tour is going to be about, is try to reach enough of these people, enough of the general public, and enough of the investigators to hopefully keep people out of trouble.
Steve, I hate to do this, buddy, but we've run out of time for tonight. All right, Steve, take care of yourself. Continued success, buddy, and we look forward to talking to you again in the near future. Regards to the family.
Take care, my friend.
Bye-bye, my friend. Stephen A. Lachance, www.stephenalachance.com, STEVENALACHANCE.com. When we come back from the news at the top of the hour, Dr. Seth Shostak is going to be my very special guest. We're going to be talking about SETI and his appearance on the Larry King Show last Friday night. My name's Rob McConnell. This is the X-Zone, live and around the world on the Talkstar Radio Network.